Oh, don't mind me. I'm just making a potion. Hey guys, welcome back for another spoopy episode of Zero's Maverick hunting. You know, the last few years I've covered vampire content, and I've kind of gotten bored of it. Not that I'm not ever going to cover vampire content ever again, no, there's still lots to talk about. But this year felt a little bit more magical, and just in time because this game that I'm going to be talking about today just came out not too long ago. So today, we're going to get a little hocus pocus going on, and we're going to talk about Witch Thief. Witch Thief is a 3D bullet hell game developed by Cardboard Keep for Steam on PC. You play as Charlotte, who is a witch thief, name drop, looking for a magical book called the Grimoire, which is hidden within a castle. With the help of fellow witch Evelyn, sword maiden Eloise, and dollmaker Lucinda, they will storm the castle and stop the curse of the evil Grimoire. Full disclosure, I was given a review copy of this game, however this video is not sponsored, so keep that in mind. Like I said, the game is a 3D bullet hell shooter. It's played in a third-person perspective where you control your character through several stages, which contain rooms where you fight off hordes of magical dolls, swords, and books! They ain't just for reading anymore! To progress to a boss fight in the middle and end of each stage. It's very much akin to games like Death Smiles or Ikaruga, except of course it's a third-person shooter, not a side-scroller. When you start the game, you're given the choice of character, stage, and difficulty. Of course, when you first boot up, you'll only have Charlotte and the first stage unlocked, so we'll start there. Charlotte is the main character of our story who is trying to get the Grimoire for herself. Her dialogue mostly consists of internet lingo and memes, which is kinda jarring to be honest. She's the all-around neutral character in terms of stats, and her base weapon is the G, which fires magic shots in a spread style. She also has powerful spells such as Steel Magic, which allows her to absorb all magic attacks and fire them right back at her enemies. The Witch Sage Evelyn is an adept magic user who wants to destroy the Grimoire to end its curse. She's the slowest but strongest character and uses fire magic as her base weapon. Her spell Arcane Storm lets her fire off several different types of magic at once. Eloise is a sword maiden and knight of the castle. Her goal is to free the inhabitants of the castle from the control of the Grimoire's curse. Being a master of the sword, she uses the S as her base attack. She has the power of Blink Strike, in which she does a series of instant melee attacks against an opponent. She's also the fastest character, but she's rather weak in terms of magical ability and strength. Finally, there's Lucinda, the headmistress of the castle and a skilled doll maker. She wants to end the Grimoire's curse and all things she created in its wake. She uses beam magic and has dolls that act as familiars, also using the same beam magic. Her spell, Legion of Threads, summons a bunch of dolls to shoot a barrage of magic for a short amount of time. The game has 5 stages in total with 5 different difficulty settings. The normal difficulty just gives a few lives, and further harder difficulties raise the stakes and lower the lives. The casual mode is much like the regular mode in AVGN Adventures, where it counts the deaths instead of lives. So if you'd rather just play the game to see how far you can get in so many lives, then I would suggest casual mode. This is the mode I played on because, I'll admit it, I'm terrible at bullet hell games. Some shoot 'em ups I'm decent at, but for the most part, I'm not very good at them. I'm glad this game offers this option to play this way as it opens it up to all kinds of players. The game starts off in the forest, where it teaches the player the game mechanics and gives you plenty of pumpkins to squash. Along the way you'll find Bal Hannon, a forest wolf who's hungry for magical beings. Shortly after we encounter the first boss, Celeste Elysia, the gatekeeper of the castle. Onward to the castle halls where we first encounter Eloise. Her adept sword magic is fierce, but as long as you use your spell sparingly, she's not too difficult to pass. The halls lead to the cathedral, where you'll first encounter enemies on separate planes. Once you've gotten a feel for it, you'll face off against the bishop, who makes use of fireball magic. Then there's the library, a sprawling maze of books and bookshelves. This leads to the castle's master, Lucinda. Being the creator of the dolls, she utilizes them in battle to great effect. Once she's defeated, she reveals that she's been using the Grimoire to create a new doll from its pages. Now you'll be given access to the throne room, where you'll meet the Grimoire doll, a doll made from the pages of the Grimoire. After an incredibly long and drawn-out battle, you'll release the Grimoire from its dull body, and head to finally finish it off to seal it away once and for all. The plot of the game is kind of basic, but it gets the job done. I could have done without Charlotte's internet lingo dialogue, but thankfully it's not a deal breaker. For a game of this type, story is not a super important thing, so I can't knock the game for having a simple plot. The controls of the game are fairly simple and function well. Right trigger does your basic attack, and you can hold it down to constantly attack. The A button does a dash move which you'll want to use to dodge enemy attacks, and also to move slightly faster, especially when playing as Evelyn, as she's the slowest character. The B button allows you to cast a spell, for which you start with 3 castings. The left trigger focuses your magic, though to be honest I didn't use it that much. The game also offers tons of power-ups. Of course, there are the standard extra life and magic charge power-ups. However, there are several weapons to choose from, and you can stack them for stronger versions. First off is G, which is the basic spread gun, which can be powered up into a starburst and fired at a faster rate. There is F, which shoots fireballs that fire in a random pattern. The B is a laser beam attack which constantly fires and grows in strength and width as you power it up. My favorite weapon has to be A, as it's a homing attack that increases with speed and precision when stacked. The worst weapon in my opinion is S. It's strong, but its rate of fire and spread range are super low. My favorite combination was using Evelyn with A as her strength mixed with the homing made for a deadly combination. I just really like homing weapons. The enemy types in the game mostly consist of red or green dolls. Luckily, the game does give them different things to do, so it's not like these colors are stuck to a certain enemy weapon type. Other than that, there's swords and books. They ain't just for reading anymore, they'll lunge at you, and as well as giant knight heads that summon them, but for the most part, it's dolls. With the exception of a few such as Balhannon and the Grimoire doll, the bosses sometimes show up as mini-bosses as well in the same stage. Not a ton of variety, but it didn't distract from the gameplay. Being that the game is a bullet hell game, you'll be spending a lot of your time dodging a barrage of bullets, lasers, and just about anything they can throw at you. Earlier stages are fairly short, not taking longer than 15 minutes, while later stages such as the library took me around an hour. However, the game stays fairly fresh throughout the journey and doesn't get into the realms of overstaying its welcome. I will say that it is a game where losing all your lives or getting stuck in a glitch after 45 minutes does require me to put it down for a while, especially in the library stage where I got stuck for a bit. The graphics are fairly well done despite being fairly simple as far as 3D is concerned. It uses a respectable amount of bloom and lighting effects to make the colors pop. Speaking of colors, it uses a very purple pastel style which works very well for the setting. The game ran at a solid 60 frames per second on max settings, might I add at 720p, and on my lower tier gaming PC, that was a plus. However, I must say, once I got to the library stage, the game really stalled. Even at low settings with enhancements minimal or off, getting 60 frames per second was tricky here. Later stages were fine, so I think it's just an issue with the 4th stage. I did also want to talk about the character models. They're fairly simple but get the job done, just enough detail. The part that's interesting is when in cutscenes they use these character stills which I can only describe as reminding me of witches and vampires. Also, some of the facial expressions are, well, ooh, ah. Regardless, I had no issues with the graphics or presentation. The music is fairly good and appropriate for the game style. It is a little generic and never really goes out of being safe, but that's just fine as this game doesn't need a bombastic soundtrack. Just don't expect much from the soundtrack, it's not going to set your world on fire. Sound is around the same. While not generic or grabbed from any sound banks that I can hear, it does exactly what it needs to do and is appropriate for the game. Not much else to say, the sound and music is fitting. This game is far from perfect. I experienced quite a few annoying design issues and glitches that I thought might be worth sharing. First off, navigating the menus with a controller is pretty terrible. Multiple times I found myself clicking on things I didn't mean to, such as when modifying game options and even selecting a stage and difficulty. It may be hard to see here, but selecting a stage consists of you clicking on it, then choosing a difficulty, and then starting it. In order to scroll through the stages, you need to navigate to the next stage, select it, and then do the same, whereas an easy navigation pane would have sufficed. Also, never click on a level image twice, as that will start it with the default options. Many times I did this without meaning to do so. Also, when navigating through game setups, it would really help to relegate things like moving back and forward to their own buttons. If I choose the wrong mode or character, going back requires hovering over that selection, then selecting it, when this could easily be done by setting go back to the B button or confirm to the A button. The worst of this is when dying, it registers the movement input you made when you died. I have accidentally chosen return to main menu several times, losing all my progress. One time I was in a stage for 45 minutes, then accidentally exited just before the boss. And are you sure you want to exit back to the main menu? Additional option would have been nice, as this issue almost made me stop playing the game. As for glitches, I found that sometimes shots will not hit enemies despite being in the line of fire. A glitch that happened every time was when exiting the game, it would have to be force closed to get it to actually close the application. One foggy section had an instant death pit where it would respawn back into the pit. This happened for a good 3 minutes before it respawned me back into the level. Other than that, I also got stuck a few times with no way to get out due to there being gaps you could fall into but were blocked by an object on all sides, basically requiring me to restart the level. I have made mention of some of these issues to the developers, and the crashing upon exit glitch has been fixed so far, so these things can be fixed. Witch Thief is not a perfect game. It has issues and problems and may not hold the attention of every gamer, but for those looking for a new spin on an old genre, it satisfies that itch. Fans of shoot-em-ups and bullet hell games will probably get a kick out of this, and even if you're not sure about those games, playing on casual gives the same experience as playing on hard, just with less lives. So the question remains, do I recommend Witch Thief? I think it's a solid action and bullet hell game, and it has its problems, but I can overlook them because it's just a small team taking care of this. Just be aware of the problems that I mentioned. Witch Thief is available on Steam for purchase, and a link will be available in the description. Anyways, I think it's about ready. So I'm going to go for now. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching this episode of Zero's Maverick Hunting, and have a happy Halloween. See you next time. Hey guys, thanks again for watching my Witch Thief review. Shoutouts on the screen to my backers on Patreon. If you like what you saw, consider subscribing and hitting that bell for notifications. If you'd like to keep up with me, you can follow me on Facebook at Zeromaster fan page, follow me on Twitter at Zeromaster, back me on Patreon for early access to videos, behind the scenes extras, updates on projects, and other benefits as well. And follow me on Twitch where I stream every Tuesday and Thursday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. And if you're still hungry for more spoops, check out my last video on Night Terrors on the left. And on the right, check out STXCR's latest video on free running. Thanks again for watching, and have a happy Halloween.